Hi, I'm Nino Gonzalez, and welcome to another episode of Making Sense. And today we're going to talk about home computer security issues and how it can affect your financial health. Because a lot of things that we do nowadays, it involves financial transactions online or storing information online, and we need to know how to protect that. So joining me on today's show is David Rodriguez, and he is a help desk attendant here at El Paso Community College.
Yes, sir.
And I want to thank you for joining me today and taking time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came about to be here at the college.
Well, I actually started working for the college in like 1998, so I've been here about 18 years.
Wow.
In February. I originally started as an elementary education major, and then I got a job through the work study program with the IT department, and I really, really liked it, and I've been here ever since. So I started just taking classes here and there to learn more, just because I wanted to get better at what I was doing. And the more I learned, I just ended up abandoning my teaching degree and going straight into IT.
Wow. So, I know you conduct several workshops here at the college regarding, home security issues regarding computers, and that's why I wanted to have you on here, so maybe the public can be informed about how to protect their digital, information and also their personal computers and mobile devices. So why is it important to have security set up on your home computer systems?
Well, like you were saying, we live in a world that's more globally connected through the internet. Everything online now is digital. You file your taxes online, you pay your bills online, and so that opens us up to a certain amount of vulnerability if we're not taking steps to protect our computers.
Okay.
And so, it's kind of like getting a flu shot. Can you go through the winter without a flu shot?
Sure.
Yeah, you could, but why would you want to?
Okay.
So it's kind of along the same lines as that you want to protect yourself for the just in case.
Okay. But, sometimes we talk about these digital tools that are available to protect your computer, but I think we also have to worry about the physical access of the computer itself at our home, correct?
Well, and to an extent, if someone's breaking into your house and they're stealing your computer, they're might not really be interested on what's on your computer,
right,
but the person buying it could be, or whoever they're, how they're trying to get rid of it. So you could be opening yourself up to all kinds of problems if you have all your tax information stored on your computer and your computer gets stolen.
Right.
What's more of a problem is now that we're increasingly mobile. So we have our laptop, we have a tablet, our cell phones, our computers now.
Right.
And those are the things that get stolen most often. You forget them at the gym, you leave them at Barnes & Noble or the library, you walk away from the table for, I'm just gonna go get a cup of coffee. And you come back and your laptop's gone.
Yeah, so with everything becoming so mobile, how can we protect those mobile devices, such as my cell phone or my tablet that I might be carrying around?
Tablets and cell phones have a bit more built-in security, for example, than a laptop. They're a little bit harder to get into. They can still be accessed. There's certain ways you can still get into the files, even with a password. There are ways. But the average loss, theft kind of thing, that's not common. A laptop, on the other hand, if I pick up a laptop, I can just pull the hard drive out, plug it into another device, and read everything that's on it.
Wow.
So laptops, you really want to make sure you have really good physical security. Don't leave it unattended. You want to make sure you don't leave it in your car if you don't have to. If you're going to put it in your trunk, do it before you get to your destination, not when you're pulling up to the mall. So they won't see you? Yeah, so nobody sees you putting stuff in your trunk. You don't want them to see you doing that. But you always want to have a password on your laptop, on your tablet, on your cell phone, not just a PIN, some kind of password protection. It at least slows things down.
Right. And how about these software or apps that you can install on them to help you locate it or maybe shut it down or things like that? Are those worthwhile?
I know that iPhones and Androids both come with built-in location software, but that only works if the device is turned on.
Right.
The first thing a thief is going to do if they're smart is turn it off the minute they can.
The GPS tracking.
You just turn off the phone entirely because they don't want to even mess with it. They just want to turn it off and turn it around and sell it to somebody else. So and that's good because they're not trying to get into your files. A laptop, on the other hand, like I was saying, even if you have a password on your laptop, if your files aren't encrypted, which is a whole nother topic, If your files aren't encrypted, then they can just pull the hard drive out and plug it into another computer and read everything that's on there.
Wow.
And a lot of the software that people like me use to do stuff like that is available for free with a Google search. I mean, it's not hard to get a hold of that software.
Or how to do it.
Or how to do it. I mean, you can go on YouTube and find
Step-by-step
hundreds
videos,
of
right?
tutorials that show you how to do things.
Wow.
So the physical, just making sure you know where your devices are. Making sure I know where my laptop is, I know where my things are, will save you a lot of headaches.
So have you heard any stories of, people losing information or getting their information stolen, and that you can elaborate with us?
Well, I mean, you've heard it all frequently in the news about insurance companies that have been breached because a laptop got stolen that had social security numbers and stuff. So those you hear about quite a bit. One of the stories I was thinking about when we were talking about this show was a company called HB Gary Federal. They were a company that was a defense contractor for a lot of government entities of cybersecurity defense. And the reason, I don't remember which of my workshops you've been to, but I have a workshop called The Weakest Link.
Okay.
Because the most important person in that company had the worst password. He had a password that was only 6 characters long, that was just a word and a number.
Right.
So a lot of times people don't understand why we have the rules that we have, or why do we have to make these passwords so long and complicated? This is so silly. Nobody wants my information. But it's not necessarily you, but the access that you have.
Sure.
And so he was the CEO and COO. He played 2 roles. He used the same password for his bank, for his social media, for the corporate social media, for corporate servers, for administrative accounts. I mean, once hackers got a hold of that password, they were able to
access
everything. I mean, they deleted years of research and development material. They made public over 50,000 emails that implicated them and other organizations in illegal activity. I mean, he really kicked the hornet's nest. And it started because he went online and said, these hackers think they're great. Well, I have the names and addresses and identities of all these people. I'm going to expose them.
Wow. So it came back and
bit him.
Wow.
Really hard. So, a couple of lessons from that would be, don't make yourself a target. Have strong passwords. That is really important.
I was just in the news recently. They were talking about the 10 worst passwords, and the main one was 1 2 3 4 5 6, and the word password itself.
5% of people worldwide, over 300 million accounts. They did a study of all of these accounts that got compromised, and of over 300 million accounts, 5% of people in the world use password as even just part of their password. And if that's you, go change your passwords right now. And other people, I mean, and the top, like 90-something%, I think it's 91% of people have a password that's in the top 1,000 list.
Right.
And the top 10,000 list is small enough to fit on a USB. In fact, I have a USB in my office that has password cracking software on it, that if I can plug it into your laptop, it doesn't matter what your password is.
And you can just run it?
I can just bypass it if I need to. So again, that's where the physical access on a laptop and tablet and stuff is really important, because your passwords can sometimes be bypassed.
So you suggest we have strong passwords. So what's a strong password entail?
Part of the problem with passwords is it's kind of IT's fault.
Okay.
Okay. What happened is, all those years ago, I know you were at the college, you and I started around the same time when we made that rule, okay, everybody has to have a password and we have to change it regularly. And so what happened is people went, okay, fine, I have to come up with a password, I'm just going to use password. So then we're like, guys, you can't use just password, you need to, use a different word, and then, that'll be fine. So, okay, so I'm going to use dictionary. Okay, guys, you can't use just one word anymore. The hackers know you're doing that, so now you need to add a number. Right. Fine, dictionary 1. Guys, you can't just use a dictionary 1. You need to include a symbol. Okay, fine, dictionary 1 exclamation. You IT people are so annoying. Right. I have correctly guessed that as people's passwords more than one time.
Wow.
And that's just a random word I picked. So strong passwords is kind of IT's fault, where we set up the term password and then people, well, I just need a word. When really the strongest password is a random one. But because human beings don't think that way, we think in patterns and certain structures.
Or something we can remember.
Yeah, so it's something we need to remember. So a simple phrase. So I was going to print out a few and bring them. But for example, the name of your favorite team, like I love, and then your name of your favorite team. Or I hate, and then their rival. My team got robbed, and the year they got robbed. Something like that. That's more than one word. So a very short sentence.
And it's longer.
So it gives it length, right? So that's the hallmarks of a good password is length and complexity. Okay. So length, if it's long, more than I'm always recommend between 12 and 16 characters,
Wow.
which people think that's really long. But if you
do it in a phrase,
if you
it's
do it in a
not,
phrase,
right.
you find it's hard to make it short enough sometimes.
Sure.
Because you're going to add a number and maybe a symbol to that, and so it gives you a little bit more length. So that gives you some more strength to it. You have complexity because you have not just one word, you've got many words.
Right.
You've got maybe some mixed capitalization. You add a number, you add a special character, and you have a very strong password.
Now, should I have a password, as you mentioned, for different sites?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
So how do I
absolutely.
remember all of these? And, how do I keep track of all these passwords?
And I'm sure I'll get scolding phone calls from all the IT people who end up watching this.
Right.
But one of the things that those of us in IT, we sometimes forget is that that's our job,
Right.
is remembering passwords. That's not the average user's job.
Sure.
So if you have to write it down, write it down. Store it someplace safe, a locked file cabinet, not just taped to your monitor or underside your
Post-its.
keyboard. Somewhere, keep it somewhere safe where you keep your other important documents. So if you forget, then hey, you can always refer back to it. But I always recommend, at a minimum, keeping your job separate, your money separate, so your bank and credit cards, your personal email account. You
Right.
want to have the strongest password you can possibly think of on your personal email account.
Wow.
And the reason for that being is your personal email account is what you use to log into everything
Sure.
these days. It's your bank login, it's your Facebook login.
That's correct.
So if one of those things gets compromised,
They can use that as your username and then try and figure out the password.
exactly. And so you want to protect your email account above all else, because when you go to a website and you hit, I forgot my password, what does it do? It sends you an email.
Right.
Well, if they're in your email, now they can reset anything they want. So you always want to protect your personal email account. And then I recommend a separate password for stuff that maybe isn't that important. For example, Facebook, Twitter, Vine, YouTube, stuff that you just go to consume content.
Right.
You're not really hopefully, you're not really putting a lot of private information
Sure.
out there. If you are, then maybe you need to reconsider, using multiple a different password for your social
And there's
media.
these, I've heard about sites where you can store your passwords and you can. What do you think of that?
Unfortunately, a couple big names in password security, like I think it was KeepPass and a couple other ones, were hacked because they're a very high-profile target.
Right.
The hackers know they have everybody's passwords, so they want to get into that organization and see if they can steal information. And they
Right.
were successful more than one time. So I don't trust anybody but me
Right.
with my password when it comes to that. And so a simple way you could do it is a piece of paper. You write down all of your passwords on the paper, not this is my bank password, you just write them
Sure.
down in an order of priority that makes sense to you. And you write those things down and you store that somewhere safe.
Sure.
And then, if you forget, well, most companies give you 4 or 5 tries before they lock you out. So you will only have so many on that list that you can, well, I know it's not maybe the first one's my work one, I use it every day.
Right.
I know it's not that, so process of elimination. I know a lot of people that use password managers, but just hearing these companies that get compromised, it just makes me nervous. So
Sure.
I
No
just
matter
have
what
my
the
own
guarantee
system.
is, there's no such guarantee.
There's no such guarantee. So it's
Right.
always come up with a system that works for you. That is always my biggest thing is come up with a system that works for you, whether it's the names of your favorite books, the names of your favorite movies, the names of your favorite musicians.
And just combine it a little
And
bit with some characters or some numbers.
Maybe significant dates, like you and your significant other have that one song.
Right.
Okay, well, the title of the song and the year that became your song is a strong password. Now, what are you going to do in a year when you have to change your passwords again? Because that's my other
Well,
recommendation.
maybe a favorite movie or a favorite food or something like that.
Because that's my other recommendation, is that you change your passwords, all
Right.
of your passwords, at least once a year.
At least once a year.
At least once a year.
Wow. Well, it was really interesting to see that listing of the top 10 most used passwords, and I guess one that I didn't see in there is using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 backwards, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It didn't make it to the top 10, but I'm sure it's up there.
It's probably in the top. It's probably in the top 20 or 30. Yeah.
Right.
And that's also one of the reasons why, you have to protect your personal information.
Right.
Because what people do is typically not 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but the year they were born,
Sure.
their date of birth.
Right.
And so, for example, if your wallet gets lost or stolen, what else is in your wallet aside from your credit cards?
Yeah, your driver's
Your
license,
driver's
which has that
license,
information.
Which has that information. So a lot of people born, and there's been a lot of studies done where people born between I think it's 59 and 1980 something, use their date of birth a lot.
Wow. Well, we'll come back and talk a little bit more about some of these security issues and how we can protect our systems. Thank you. Welcome to the second half of Making Sense, and we were discussing password managers and good tips for setting up a password and how often you should change it. So now let's go a little bit more into how to protect my computer system. You said, do I need a flu shot? I don't, right? But I run the risk of getting really, really sick. So how about, I hear about antivirus software, spyware, malware, firewalls. What are all of these, and do I really need these?
Okay. So theoretically, you could surf online and never get a virus.
Okay.
Theoretically. But again, the protection is out there. Why would you take that chance? It's like having insurance on your car, right? You get
Sure.
it for the just in case.
Right.
So, let's see. Malware is kind of the catch-all term they use for all kinds of malicious programming. There's viruses, worms, Trojan horse. There's all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
Which I could do a whole hour just on the
Right.
kinds of viruses and everything that there's out there. But malicious programming in general started off as a means to cripple or disable systems, disrupt operations.
Right.
And it's moved beyond that now to data collection, where what do you have on your computer and how can I use that to benefit me? Speaking from the person who writes the malware's point of view. So you want some kind of protection for the just in case.
Right.
So for example, you have all your tax information on your computer. Well, what's in your tax information? Your social, your family social, your earning
Everything,
history.
right.
So you want to protect that kind of information. So there's lots of different options out there. There's lots of different software out there, including for Macs.
So what's spyware? I mean, I've heard
Okay.
of that term too.
Okay, so and that's kind of where the line is different. A virus is usually intended to cripple or disable something.
Right.
Right? It's just intended to cause damage. Spyware kind of catches everything else. It's looking at what you're looking at the files that are on your computer and reporting back somewhere. It's maybe eavesdropping on your microphone or your camera.
Really?
There's all kinds of stuff, and that's a lot of it is focused on. How do I say this? A lot of it is focused on just spying on you.
Okay.
Where are you going on the internet? What are you doing? What websites are you visiting? Oh, okay, they have a Facebook account and they have a bank account and they use the same email address for both.
Right.
So that's kind of where that.
But sometimes even legitimate companies spy on you because they drop cookies and things like that to track your buying habits and what you're visiting. Isn't that true?
Facebook is, I'm going to sound like I'm picking on them, and I am a little bit.
I mean, Amazon does that.
Amazon does it.
eBay, all those.
Well, look, when you look at Amazon, you go on the Amazon website and you start searching for stuff. You start getting, this looks interesting. So you
and then
click
you
on
see
it,
ads when you leave.
and then you see ads. Facebook does that a lot. What a lot of people don't realize is that Facebook eavesdrops on you even when you're not signed into
Really?
Facebook.
Wow.
Yes. They have cookies on your computer, and a cookie is a small file that is like basically a reporting file. And so you go and you surf on the internet, you get back to Facebook and it reports back to Facebook. Here's all the websites this person visited. And so now Facebook knows how to target
Wow.
you with specific advertising. And that's how Facebook makes its money.
And those are legitimate spyware that, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could call it legitimate. They've got to make their money, right?
Sure.
So, but it's one of those things that where you start getting into problems is spyware that resides on your computer. These cookies report back, but the spyware is on your computer sending stuff out. You don't know who it's sending it out to. And in fact, when you click on the terms of service agreement for Facebook and Amazon, you're giving them permission to do these things. Spyware typically doesn't ask for your permission.
And then I've also heard that keyloggers, right, where they will keep track of what is it that you're typing, including passwords and usernames.
Yeah, so that's why antivirus and anti-malware is really, really critical. And many antivirus programs are not anti-malware.
Right. So you need two.
You need two. I always recommend two.
Or a suite, right?
Yeah, and it's like a second opinion from a doctor, right? You go to a doctor and he tells you have something and I really don't know about that. I'm going to check with another doctor. Second opinion. So that's why you would want an antivirus and an anti-malware from two separate companies, just to make sure that what one company doesn't get, the other one hopefully will catch. And so, I don't generally endorse any particular ones, but for example, Windows systems, Windows 8, 8.1, and 10 come pre-installed with the Microsoft antivirus. So you're already covered. One of the things I've seen a rise of, especially in the last several months, maybe the last year or so, is viruses on Macintosh.
Oh, wow.
And I'm talking just this weekend.
And those were usually the ones that were the hardest, right, to infect.
Yeah, and there's a term in IT called security through obscurity.
Right.
Macintosh computers for many years have had the smallest market share. That's not really the case anymore. There's still a smaller share than Windows, but they're not the smallest. So they're growing and they're becoming a more attractive target because Macintosh users have been lulled into a false sense of security. Well, I don't need an antivirus, I have a Mac.
Right.
And I'm telling you, just this weekend, I got a call from my parents that they had somebody from Geek Squad over to come check their computer because my mom's Macintosh was infected with spyware. Even though I've warned them, I work in IT, I'm out there, So even people who may know better can fall into these traps where you see an ad. Oh, well, this thing is telling me my computer's infected. I need to click here to clean it.
They're phishing for you.
They're phishing for you.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. How do I get infected? How do I get these viruses? Like you said, I get a pop-up, right? And it says, run a scan because your computer's been infected. You never want to do that.
You never want to do that. You never want to do that. If you suspect that you have any kind of infection, use the software that you installed to run a scan. Don't ever click on something that says, well, I can't get it off of my screen. Shut your computer down.
Right.
Restart it, run an antivirus scan. Because the number one vector for infection is advertising.
Wow. And can I also get it from maybe sites I visit?
Yes. Those are normally called drive-by downloads, where you just go to a website that's been infected, and depending on the security of their servers and the security of your computer, it can self-install things on your computer. So that's why, like I said, theoretically, you could surf without protection, but why take the chance?
And I've heard also about, you click on an email and you click on a link or you download something, somebody sends you an attachment. Can I get a virus that way or things like that?
Yes, and that's where we start talking about phishing. A lot of times you'll get weird emails like, you haven't ordered anything from Amazon.
Right.
And you get an email that looks like it's from Amazon saying, hey, we're trying to ship this to you, but your shipping address is wrong.
Right, or we're trying to, UPS sends you, we're trying to deliver this package.
And one, they didn't try to deliver the package because, you haven't ordered anything.
And
why would you click on that attachment to see what the package is?
And I did a whole show on identity theft and, these emails that come that I have won so much money, or if I could help somebody recover some money, or even from the IRS that they want to give me some money or things. The IRS really giving me some money.
Right. So my rule of thumb is be suspicious of anything that's free. Now that kind of goes contradictory because there's a lot of free antivirus software out there. But I always recommend before you install something, do your research.
Right.
Look up the name of that company. Look for reviews on more than one website. And, is this something reputable? When in doubt, ask somebody who knows about computers. Ask them, hey, I've heard about this. Is this a good software to install? And, IT people, we'd love to help you. We'd rather take a few minutes to look up that for you and say, no, you know what, that's probably not a good idea. Or, yeah, that's great. than to have to go to your house and fix your computer.
Right. So, okay, so I've got the virus software, I got the spyware and the malware software, the ones that will protect me. But do I have to run scans? Or do they run automatically? Because sometimes we install it and we don't run scans.
And you never check, yeah.
Right.
So normally when you're setting up that kind of software, it will ask you, hey, do you want to run a scan every day? Do you want to run a scan once a week? I recommend running it at a minimum once a week.
Right.
Now, I have an antivirus software that's called Bitdefender, and that one runs whenever I'm not using my computer.
Okay.
If my computer's not, the keyboard and mouse aren't in motion, it starts running a scan on my files, and it's running all of the time.
Wow.
So that I really, and it's done very well so far. So, and it was free. It was a free software, bitdefender.com. So again, there's software out there that runs scans all of the time. Most of the time you'll get like live protection or active protection from software you pay for. There's tons of them out there. Everyone's seen the Norton ads, McAfee ads, all of those, but you want to look at reviews of what other people say and maybe industry people from IT who are saying, well, you know what, this software is great, but it maybe uses a lot of memory.
And I wanted to ask you, so you said you had a free antivirus software.
Yes.
So are the free ones just as good as the paid ones?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so I shouldn't be worried if it's free that it's not going to protect me enough?
No, usually the paid ones will come with extra bells and whistles. Like for example, extra parental controls, maybe live, like every time you go on the internet, it checks every single page. But again, the downside of that may be that your internet may feel slow because it's checking every single page that you visit.
And it's using more memory.
And so it's using more memory.
Right.
So it's one of those things, there's that triangle of security where it's easy to use, or is it secure, or is it, I forget what the third one is right now, my IT instructors will be mad, but there's that balance. You have to balance like how easy is this to use, and is it actually protecting?
Yeah, and then some of the free ones might come with ads too, right?
Yeah, and sometimes,
and that's how they pay for it.
And that's how they pay for it. And so a lot of these companies have like you can pay per year, per month. So there's different options. And so I'm always and the reason I brought up Bitdefender is because I've been evaluating it for a little while, and I'm like, hey, you know what? This software's working really well. It doesn't bog down my computer. I'm probably gonna purchase a subscription. So it's one of those things where you try it out and then decide, hey, I really like it, or you know what, it makes my computer's been slow since I installed this.
We were talking about these cookies and these little pieces of information that are stored in your computer when you surf the net. Can I clean those and get rid of them? Yes,
and that's kind of by law. They have to make a way for you to remove that kind of stuff because you don't necessarily always want to be tracked.
Right.
You don't necessarily want Facebook knowing where your bank is, and stuff like that. So, there's in most of the options for browsers, there's a thing that says, hey, clear my history.
And we should do that
periodically. And then it will give you options, not just history, but cookies and your cache, and it gives you a whole long list of things. When in doubt, Google it, or any other search engine. I just default by say Google because that's just default for me, but you can just do a search for how do I clear cookies in, and then the name of the browser that you use.
Well, great. Well, a lot of valuable information, and time went by so quickly, and we're going to bring you back for another show to talk some additional computer security issues. And thank you for tuning in for another episode of Making Sense. Thank you, David.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.